Hello and welcome to my 6-week weight loss course. My name's Phil Collins. I'm an expert in helping people lose weight. I've been doing this for many years. Over the next 6 weeks, you're going to learn the 9 must-dos, of which I use with all my clients in order to help them change their mindset on how to lose weight. You're going to find out what are good and bad foods, learn techniques to help you stop comfort eating, experience the pleasure of being hypnotized, experience hypnotic techniques to keep you motivated, and to change the way you think about food and change your relationships with food. This 6-week program is designed to change your lifestyle. Obviously, you got to where you are now, and I'm not trying to be horrible, but you got to where you are now by living the lifestyle you're living. What I'm going to do, certainly with respect to eating and what food you eat and things like that, I'm going to change your lifestyle. If you follow what I'm asking you to do, then you will lose weight. So let's start with the first module, which is the 9 must-dos. So the first one is that you need to eat from a smaller plate. Most people eat off a 12-inch plate, a normal-sized dinner plate. So what I want you to do from now on, I want you to get the next size down, which is about a 10-inch plate, and eat your main meals off that plate. What will happen is if you always eat your main meals off this plate, you will get psychologically used to this being a normal sized portion. So when you do actually see someone eating off a big size plate, then it'll look too much for you. So always eat your main meals off a smaller plate. Obviously, if you go to a restaurant, then you generally can't ask for what size plate you want. So now and again, it's not going to be too bad. But in the main, certainly when you're at home, eat off a smaller plate. Number 2, I want you to chew more. Most people eat too quickly. So I want you to chew between 20 and 40 times. If you're a meat eater, this isn't difficult. It's quite easy to chew a piece of meat about 40 times. But what I want you to do, I want you to take a mental note or do a timing of how long it takes you to chew a piece of meat 40 times. On average, it'll take about 60 seconds. So now every mouthful of meat, you're going to take about 60 seconds to eat. If you eat something soft, say cheese, then obviously you're not going to be wanting to take 40 chews on that because it'll just be horrible. But now if you eat something soft like cheese or something like that, then chew for, let's say it takes you 20 seconds to chew it. I want you to leave another 40 seconds, so it's going to be the same amount of time as it would be if you were eating meat, in between mouthfuls. So each mouthful is now going to take you about 60 seconds to eat. Number 3, I want you to put your knife and fork down between each mouthful. So you'll load the food onto your fork, put it into your mouth. Before you start eating, I want you to put your knife and fork down and take your hands away. If need be, sit on your hands, because this isn't very easy to do. So sit on your hands. Once you've chewed it, or a time lapse of about 60 seconds has gone by, then, and only then, once you've swallowed, do I want you to start again. So you pick your fork up, load your food, put it in your mouth, chew, put your knife and fork down, and keep repeating this. What we want to do is we want to slow you down for the next item. So number 4, I want you to listen to your stomach. Inside the stomach, we've got a switch, a chemical switch, which sends a message to the brain to say, I'm either hungry, so I need to eat, or I'm full, so I can stop eating. This switch isn't like a light switch where you switch the light on, it comes on automatically, instantaneously. This switch can take anything between 5 and 35 minutes to send a message to your brain. So if you're someone who eats quickly, what happens is you start eating, you eventually hit the switch, but remember it could take anything between 5 and 35 minutes to send that message to your brain. So generally what happens is you overfill your stomach, so you fill it too much. What I want you to do, I want you to slow down. So I want you to start listening to your stomach. So by eating slowly, by chewing more, by putting your knife and fork down, what that actually does is put a sort of time delay in between mouthfuls. So you'll start eating, you'll eat nice and slowly. You will hit that switch, but because you're eating slowly and there's a time delay there, what will happen is you'll start to notice that you're full earlier, because that switch has had time to send that message to the brain. Initially, what will happen if you're used to filling your stomach so full, and it would normally take several hours to come down below the switch, then what will happen initially is you'll find that you get hungry a little bit earlier. What you then need to do is just top it up. So you eat a little bit, and then you'll get hungry again. Eat a little bit, you'll get hungry again. And I'm sure you've heard the old saying, it's better to eat little and often than it is to have a big meal. And that's why. So I want you to listen to your stomach. Number 5, I want you to eat a good, healthy breakfast. Most people, certainly overweight people, tend not to eat breakfast, or they'll have something that's not really appropriate. Breakfast really means to break fast. So when you're asleep, you're fasting, you're not losing many calories or using up many calories. Your metabolic rate, that's the thing that burns up calories, will really only start when you start feeding your body in the morning. It's quickest in the morning, slowest last thing at night, unless you're a shift worker, then it does go sort of all haywire, but I'm assuming that you're not a shift worker at the moment. So it's quickest first thing in the morning, slowest last thing at night. The 2 best breakfasts you could eat are porridge, or as you can see on the screen, bacon and egg. No bread, no sauces or anything like that, just pure bacon and egg. They're the 2 best breakfasts you could eat. If you take someone who gets up at 7 a.m, say, and doesn't have anything to eat for breakfast, but then eats at 12 noon, what they're actually doing, they're wasting 5 hours of good, fast metabolic rate before they start burning up calories. So you must eat a breakfast. Just to give you an example of that, I had a client many years ago who came to see me, and we went through all of these 9 must-dos. We got to breakfast and she says, I don't have time to have breakfast. I've got to get up early, I've got to get into work and run my own business. I said, no, you've got to have breakfast. You've got to have breakfast. So she said, yes, she'd have breakfast. So off she went. She had breakfast, and then she lost lots of weight. She did actually achieve her goal of losing weight. But then she asked if she could come back every month or so just to check in and see how things were going. And she came back the first month, fine, no problems. She came back the second month and she'd started putting weight back on. So all I did, I asked her to go through the 9 must-dos again. As soon as we got to number 5, the eat a healthy breakfast, she actually said she stopped eating breakfast. And I said, well, when did your weight start going up? When I stopped eating breakfast, she said. So I said to her, you must start eating breakfast again. She started eating breakfast again, and her weight started to come off again. So you must eat a good, healthy breakfast. A Westerners type of meal is generally breakfast, lunch, and evening meal. So you have a small breakfast or no breakfast for some people, a medium-sized lunch, and then a large evening meal. If you think about that metabolically, it's actually the wrong way around. Because the quickest metabolically, you're putting the least amount in for your breakfast. When you're the slowest, you're putting the most amount in, i.e. your evening meal. So if you can, what I would suggest, and it's not always easy for people, but if you can, I'd suggest you change your lunchtime meal and substitute it with your evening meal. And that just helps your metabolic rate burn up those calories. So eat a good, healthy breakfast. Number 6, you need to drink more water. If you're not drinking a lot of water, you need to drink a lot more water. Reason being, there's two reasons. Thirst and hunger actually feel physically the same. And 2, there's been a massive big experiment carried out where one group of people were forced to drink about a pint or a litre of water before each meal. Another group weren't drinking much at all. The people who drank the pint or a litre of water actually lost more weight than ones who didn't drink much at all. So really I want you to do, for me and for you, I want you to drink a pint of water before each and every meal. Not during, not with, not after. I want you to drink it before, and you'll notice that this will help you lose weight. Again, many of my clients do this and they find it's really, really beneficial. So drink more water. Number 7, I don't want you to eat any main meals after 7 p.m. Reason being, your metabolic rate. The later you eat, the less likely you're going to burn up calories. So no main meals after 7 p.m. Number 8, I want you to leave something on your plate. I think certainly my generation was from the generation of where the parents said you must eat everything on your plate because there's people starving in Africa and things like that. What I would say now is that if you eat everything on your plate, then the likelihood is that you're either going to stay the weight you are or put weight on. If you leave something on your plate, then you could stay the weight you are, or you could actually start losing weight because you've left that little bit of food. So I want you to leave something on your plate. Not half your meal, just a little bit, so that you get out of this idea that you must eat everything on your plate. And certainly when we go to restaurants, I know that we're very bad at this. We say we've paid for the meal, so we're going to eat everything we possibly can. And we just come out of there feeling so bloated and everything. It's not worth it. So leave something on your plate. And number 9, I want you to understand this cycle of change. This was developed by 2 psychologists, one called Prochaska and one called De Clemente. Back in the late 1990s, what they were looking at was why, if somebody gives up smoking or stops smoking, do they suddenly start again? Because you would think if you give something up, you wouldn't want to start again. They wrote this up in journals, and very quickly people were saying, well, smoking's an addiction, isn't it? So we can use this model for any addiction. So we can use it for alcohol addiction, drug addiction, gambling, etc., etc. And food for many people is like an addiction. So I use it for food addiction. And just to explain it, if we start on the left-hand side in the little box outside the circle where it says overweight, many people are overweight. And as far as I'm concerned, if they're not hurting anybody, if they're not doing any damage to themselves, whatever, if they don't believe that they want to lose weight, then that's perfectly fine. That's their choice, it's their life. However, the vast majority of people who are overweight do not want to be overweight. So what they do, they move into the circle and start thinking about doing something about their weight. They then move into the preparation stage, so they're going to preparing. And what this stage consists of is they know what weight they are, they know what weight they want to be, and if we're going to use the word diet, and I don't advocate using diets, but if we use the word diet, then there's only one day of a week that people start diets, and that's Monday. So Monday comes along and they start making those changes. They start adapting the way they are. If they're on a diet, they're going to starve themselves, and they start losing weight. Eventually what they'll do, they'll get to their ideal weight, still in the circle, and that's why we call it maintenance. So they get down to their ideal weight, which is maintenance initially. Some people, the ideal person, not many of them about by the way, but the ideal person will actually come out of the circle then and go to the top right, which is the ideal weight, and they'll stay there for the rest of their life. However, for the vast majority of people, there's always a lapse or a relapse around the corner. A lapse will be that they're doing so well, they're losing £2 a week very easily, and after a while they'll see cream cake or something like that and they'll say, well, I've got to have it. So they have it. Consequences of that, they're going to put weight back on potentially. A relapse is when somebody says, oh, I can't do this, I can never get to my weight, I really enjoy my eating all them foods, them things I shouldn't really eat, with foods that are going to put weight on. A relapse means that they'll just carry on eating the way they used to before they started all of this, and they'll go back to where they were. Anyone who's yo-yo dieted has actually gone around this circle many times. So I want you to understand that a relapse or even a lapse or a relapse is part of the process. So you will lapse, you may even relapse. But all you have to do, unlike before where you might have beat yourself up and said it's not worth it, I can't do this anymore, all you have to do is say, okay, I've done it, I've eaten a cream cake, I've eaten a piece of chocolate, I've eaten whatever it is. I want you to then get back thinking and preparing. Those 2 stages are like a click of a finger. They're just like that. You just do it, you just go. Think about it, prepare yourself and start making the changes. So in essence, certainly whilst you're losing your weight, what you'll see is you jump in between making changes and having a lapse. Making change, having a lapse. That's how it's going to feel. You're making a change and having a little lapse. And that's perfectly normal. When Prochaska and De Clementine did this on smoking, they found out on average, and averages mean it could be once, it could be several times, many, more than several times. On average, people went around this circle 7 times before they give up smoking. And certainly this was what could happen with you as well, that you may need to go around the circle a few times before you actually get to the maintenance. And once you're in the maintenance, then that's what will happen. So then the 9 must-dos. So if we just recap the 9 must-dos, then we can see what we've been doing again. So eat off a smaller plate, chew more, put your knife and fork down, listen to your stomach, eat a good healthy breakfast, drink more water, about a pint or a litre of water before each meal, no meals after 7 p.m, leave something on your plate, and understand and work with the cycle of change. I suggest to my clients that they actually print this out somehow and put it on a fridge so that you can see exactly where they are, know exactly where you are day to day. So that's the first module. I'm looking forward to helping you in the second module. So speak to you soon. Bye for now.